I'm going to be expecting a lot of good playoff series this year. There are just too many teams that look like juggernaut right now. As such, we could be in for a true barn burner at every turn. All despite us still being subjected to the current godforsaken playoff format. Yes, last year may have been far stupider for having both the entire first and second rounds be intra-divisional, but now we're back to having the bracket culminate in a West versus East showdown for the finals. I still wish the Avs-Knights series a year ago could have been the ultimate round, but I'm never going to complain about Tampa Bay and Montreal. Despite Les Canadiens immediately ruining my bracket last May and then proceeding to fall back to shit this season, I love that they went as far as they did and that the two teams ultimately competing for Lord Stanley ended up both coming from the same goddamn division. I want you to take a moment to appreciate that, because the Habs might never make it here again, at least until they just make the playoffs 1 through 16 seeds. I can only dream about it at this point. 3, 2, 1, go! Judging by those two teams from Florida both comfortably qualifying for this year's playoffs, I can only guess that ice hockey is a huge staple in the Sunshine State. I mean, look at FLA Live Arena, standing alone in a city called Sunrise. 10 out of 10 would move to Miami to become a hockey legend. Such is the argument presented by the President's Trophy winning Florida Panthers, as they more than likely get paid a visit from the Washington Capitals. I remember when I did my first hockey prediction video back in 2018, the year the Caps won the Cup. I thought Washington was doomed from the start, having lost an insane amount of consistency compared to their previous back-to-back President's Trophy seasons. I also remember sleeping on the Caps last year knowing that they had lost a grade A to an injury. This time, I'm just going to assume they've already got their tee times booked at this point, simply because they're playing the Florida Panthers. Now, I said this about the Maple Leafs last year, but the Miami Hurricanes want to be as another team that's honestly due to win a series. Not since 1996 has this team advanced in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and honestly, they have a guy who's been waiting a literal lifetime to hoist Lord Stanley. My last hope is that Florida can do what Toronto couldn't and at least let him sniff it. My only question mark is how Sergei Bobrovsky will fare against a Capital squad that likes to feast on him, but the Panthers' offense should be on enough of a wildfire to offset that goalie handicap and take the series in 6 games. Meanwhile, everyone's favorite maple syrup hacks in Toronto are stuck with a home ice matchup against who else but the defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. I used to think the Maple Leafs had a rock-solid goalie tandem that could push them to their first Stanley Cup in over half a century, thanks a lot, Montreal. Since that latest humiliating playoff loss, Jack Campbell hasn't quite been the same, but you know who has? Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Morgan Riley, Captain Jack Sparrow. There's a point where you have to decide that enough is enough. Toronto has to win a playoff series at some point. Hockey's pink gold peach has to lose. If there is a time to make it happen, it's fucking now. Tampa Bay had quite the easy path to consecutive Mickey Mouse championships, especially since last year's Cup Finals matchup featured a nondescript Habs squad that probably would have missed a traditional playoff bracket. Now that we're pretty damn close to normal again, the Lightning get to go into Toronto to meet their toughest challenge since Columbus. The Leafs have the talent and the skill to finally end more than just the memes. I don't care how many games it takes, Toronto will win a playoff series before my suddenly surging baseball team wins a fucking game. Kill me now. While we're still in the Atlantic Division, why don't we talk about a potential Panthers-Maple Leaf series? Yeah, second round matchup between two choke-heavy teams each coming off their first playoff series win and for fucking ever? Who saw that one coming? These guys have got a pretty good idea on each other, playing to several high-scoring shootouts to end the season. It's the Panthers that really like to score a fucking lot. Seriously, when's the last time they scored fewer than 3 goals in a game? Well, besides last Friday. Toronto would need a top-flight defense to shut down Florida. That sounds like a bit of a tall order to ask from the Leafs. As streaky as Sergei Bobrovsky can be at the worst at times, his offense, like they just did against the Brian Elliott playing out of his fucking mind right now, not the usual Vezina candidate Andrei Vasilevsky for no good reason, is more than potent enough to put away the one-year wonder known as Jack Campbell. Sorry Leafs faithful, but last year was your shot. You failed spectacularly. The Florida Panthers are a powerhouse right now, and they'll sweep your team aside en route to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm dead serious. They'll have to wait a little while to know their opponent from the Metro Division, whether it be the Carolina Hurricanes or the Boston Bruins. Wait, wrong division. Once again, I don't know much about either of these teams. It feels like Boston was nowhere to be found for much of the year, while Carolina pretty much held the top spot during that time frame. Neither team had a top 10 scoring year, let alone a top 10 April, but rather they both seem to really shine in net. Specifically, the Hurricanes once again have a twosome in net in Antti Ranta and some guy named Frederik Andersen, who have been serviceable but nowhere near as hot as one Linus Ullmark of the Bruins. I should have remembered from my NFL playoff prediction video from 2017 that defense wins championships. Carolina may still have options in net, but I fear they may not be enough to stop the industrial fan known as the Bruins. The Canes will be forced onto the links earlier than expected as they scornfully watch their hated rivals breathing down their neck in the New York Rangers square off against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Actually, I'm not even going to bother with this one. The Penguins may still have lit the lamp more often than the Rangers, but their core isn't getting any younger. You know how I know that they're in deep shit? It's because they just got lit up 4 times in fucking Philadelphia. The Flyers straight up assassinated Sidney Crosby. Everyone thought that game would be a cakewalk for Pitt, and here they go no call, no showing in their usual toilet bowl. They were forced to eat their own shit. Maybe they got fat and complacent following their consecutive cup wins, just saying. Doesn't help that MSG's goalie was a literal god in April. I said that they would prevail last year in a 7-game series against the Islanders, then Semyon Varlamov happened. Now here's a white-hot Igor Shesterkin to do pretty much the same damn thing for the Rangers. 4-game sweep. In the ensuing Metro Division Finals, those same Rangers get to host another team that's gotten hot at the right time in the Bruins. I think this series is going to come down to one word. Consistency. Both teams have had pretty good success scoring goals since the start of April, although Boston just got shut up by fucking Pittsburgh a week and a half ago. I mentioned before that Igor guy was all god mode all season long for New York, but wait a minute, a wild Jeremy Swayman has appeared as the top goalie prospect for the Bruins. Well shit, this series just turned into a pick'em. It should be noted that the last time these guys squared off, the Rangers missed a few key pieces to day-to-day injuries as they fell 3-1. That means they should be back in time to give this upstart squad the jolt they need to ignite the Boston sports media by putting away the Bruins in a quadruple overtime Game 7, because why the fuck not? The reward for the Rangers' Eastern Conference bid is running into none other than that President's Trophy team that plays in the A++ perfect climate for hockey. This should actually be fun. You thought the Rangers liked to score a fucking lot? Florida turned that up to 11 this last month. Even if Sergei Bobrovsky is their biggest question mark, he's still a reason why they made it to this point. The Panthers and Rangers find themselves in the same boat as the Lightning and Islanders twice before them. Despite their championship defense/goaltending, the Empire State's Warrior squads just couldn't quite keep up with the juggernauts from the Sunshine State. Why the hell did I ever say that I like one Florida team over the other? I just don't care anymore. Everyone's saying the Panthers are heavy favorites for the Cup this year, and I honestly have no way to argue against it. Also, I just want to see Jumbo Joe Thornton get the send-off he deserves. This series will probably be marked by 2 8-goal performances from Florida as they clinch their second ever finals appearance at Madison Square Garden. The state of hockey is a thing once again. Florida is it. The Calgary Flames. I didn't really think much of them this year. They did a whole lot of nothing last time around, missing the playoffs as a member of the weakest division in NHL history for fuck's sake. And yet today they're Pacific Division champs. What kind of parallel universe did I slip into? Calgary actually did something? Their prize is welcoming the fucking Dallas Stars into the Sea of Red. You want to know the funny thing about Dallas? They finished the year with a negative goal differential, and most of that sucker to was after the All-Star break. They might just be a defensive-minded team, but I feel they won't be able to stop another one of the most explosive offensive attacks in Calgary when they've been scoring an average of nearly a goal per game more than the Stars have all year long. Now, because of my regional bias, I'm supposed to hate the Stars with a burning passion, but honestly, they're just another team to me. It might be their jerseys. They seem to give Dallas an identity that could only belong to Texas. They've even won a cup. Who cares if they win another? It just won't be this year. The Flames just torched the rest of the league down the stretch, and with 2 100-point scores leading Calgary's flamethrower, oh boy, the Lone Star State is fucked. Here now is a series I wasn't planning for. The Edmonton Oilers hosting the Los Angeles Kings. Wayne Gretzky would love this matchup. If this were last year, I'd have picked the Oilers in a heartbeat after looking at things like McDavid and Draisaitl's point totals and the Oilers' power play and shitting bricks. I've noticed a slight problem with their depth though. All the points are coming from Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and pretty much no one else. Jonathan Quick had another up year in net for LA, and I'd take him over Edmonton's sketchy goaltender any day of the week. The Kings have the veteran leadership and young talent to make an upset happen, and I feel they'll pull it off in 6 games. After that madness, they'll have to make their own voyage into the Sea of Red as they take on that flamin' hot Calgary team. This will be an interesting showdown. The Flames were a high offense show in 2022 in a much more balanced manner compared to Big Brother, but the Kings have managed to hold them in check the few times they face each other. Of course, that's not going to amount to much. The playoffs are a different beast entirely. The playoffs welcome a high-octane Flames offensive attack committing regicide against Tinseltown's washed-up celebrities with open arms. The Kings are going to get outplayed at the same level as against Vegas in 2018. As you can guess, that will translate into a 4-game sweep for Calgary. They really are doing things. I love really good hockey, so the Colorado Avalanche have been among my favorites to watch this season. They're just as hot right now as when they stole the President's Trophy from Vegas a year ago, and they thus earned an opening series against the Nashville Predators of all teams. It's not going to be a pleasant experience for the Preds, especially after losing their standout goalie prospect to a high ankle sprain at the worst time possible. I don't know how a team like that competes with a divisional rival that's considered by many to be perhaps the best team in hockey and whose expectations are through the roof at this point. They need this rando named David Riddick to play at the level he was just at a couple of games ago. I don't know if that's sustainable. Smashville is fucked. They might steal a game, but after that they're done for dinner. Okay, I think I've delayed the inevitable long enough. We all knew for a while that the Minnesota Wild would have drawn the St. Louis Blues for their first round series. I dreaded this moment for ages, and it wasn't just from the Wild's paltry showing at Target Field. It wasn't just because the Blues swept the season series and have been undefeated in regulation in their last 10 matchups. It's not even because you bastards keep claiming that they won a cup once. Do me a favor and turn off your PS5, will ya? St. Louis has the edge in just about every statistic you could ask for. They've scored more goals, they've allowed fewer goals, they've had a more efficient power play, they've certainly had the superior penalty kill, good God almighty. What does Minnesota have besides a god-awful special teams unit? The agony of cap hell pulling them down for the next 5 million years. I can understand the all-in push this team made to boost their lineup and more notably their goaltending, This is indisputably the best team the Wild have ever had, marked by a bazillion broken team records and everybody and their mother putting up points for days. The problem is that the Blues are a well-oiled machine in their own right. I fear that the best chance for Minnesota to take home its first Stanley Cup will be over before it begins. Even if they have home ice and perhaps the best such record in the NHL, it may not matter. St. Louis is simply their boogeyman. They have to break my heart once again and prevail in another hard-fought 7-game series. I can't wait for Marc-Andre Fleury to become a meme again. I'm probably the only Wild fan in existence who wanted to start Cam Talbot. The Colorado Avalanche and the St. Louis Blues clash once again, this time for a trip to the Western Conference Finals. It will not end in a 4-game sweep like it did last year. The Blues are too hot right now. Then again, the Avalanche have been a juggernaut all year long. Their offense was far more prolific, but I have questions about their goaltending performance against the St. Louis squad who was no slouch themselves in putting up points. I can see this series also going to a 7th game, but my pick for this series' X-Factor might surprise you. Nazem Kadri. He was the 3rd highest scoring player for the Avs this year. When a fucking goon can put up points at the same pace as Mikko Rantanen and Nathan MacKinnon, you can bet the Gateway City is fucked. So yeah, my pick for the Western Conference Finals is the obvious pick of the Avs meeting up with the Fire and Flames. Some heads in net are gonna roll after the series. Darcy Kemper, don't need him. Jacob Markstrom, here's your walking papers. At this point, all I can think about is everything Colorado had to put up with to get to this point. This is their 5th trip to the playoffs in as many seasons, and despite all the talent they've put out there, they could just never get past the second round, be it due to some controversial calls or just a greater machine. Colorado entered the season with a cup or bust mentality, and they had the outstanding regular season that met those expectations. One playoff opponent laid down and died to them, they survived another, but I can only see a 3rd-degree murder conviction coming from the Avs following this series. You know how I know that? Daryl Sutter. He getting old. 5-game humiliation. Yeah, I don't know if I can honestly pick anyone else to take these 2 spots. Anyway, your Stanley Cup Finals in 2022 will probably be those 2 big juggernauts of the NHL, the Vice City Kitties and the Mile High Hockey Club. Wait, that didn't come out right. Hey look, it's a rematch in 1996. This time it's going to be a matchup that could go either way. Florida's not an expansion team anymore, they've been quietly building up the team they've got now for years. With Colorado, pretty much the same thing has happened. The result is a big clash between teams that like to score a fucking lot and are left with nothing but dead goaltenders for days. Nothing short of a bloodbath. Here's the thing though. After I put out my prediction vid last year, I discovered another reason to wrongfully pick Toronto to lift Lord Stanley over their heads, and somehow I'm able to apply that logic to this year's finals. 2 words will mark the story of the summer. Jumbo Joe. He's going on 43. This might be his last year on an NHL roster, and so far he's chosen the right team to go out and get his only cup win with, just don't look at his stat line. It feels like his mere presence on the team is trickling down to the rest of the roster and giving them that last bit of motivation to win their first Stanley Cup in franchise history and get the name Jumbo Joe etched on it once and for all. If the gods are smiling down on me, he'll be able to hoist the great chalice in front of the Miami faithful after a tense 7th game. Or if they truly hate me, it'll be Tampa Bay yet again and the league will be fucked. Whatever happens, Florida is the new state of hockey, I'm an eternally bitter squid boy, the gods hate me, Joe Buck is awesome, you get the goddamn point.